गायचे छंद भगत आरती तुम्हार, गायचे छंद भगत आरती तुम्हार, जय जय आरती तुम्हार, हर हर आरती तुम्हार, शिव शिव आरती तुम्हार।
ॐ नमः
नमो नमः। ॐ नमः श्री भगवते रामकृष्णाय नमो नमः। सर्वमङ्गल माङ्गल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थ साधिके शरण्ये त्र्यम्बके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। सृष्टिस्थिति विनाशानां शक्ति भूते सनातनी गुणाश्रये गुणमये नारायणी नमोस्तुते। शरणागत दीनार्त परित्राण परायणे सर्वशान्ति हरे देवी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। जय 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 महामाई की जय। जय भगवान श्री रामकृष्ण देव की जय। जय स्वामी जी महाराज जी की जय।
Hello, check. Hello, check. Namaste Atirajaya Vivekananda Sure Satchit Sukhaswarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. So we resume again after a longish gap. This lecture, Maya and Freedom by Vivekananda, that we were studying. And after he had enunciated the various examples of conflicting aspects of our lives, summarized in this notion that one calls Maya in the Vedantic literature, he now tries addressing this issue. And so let's start again with the paragraph that we were describing just before the pujas. It says, on the one side, therefore, is the bold assertion that this is all nonsense, that this is Maya. But along with it, there is the most hopeful assertion that beyond Maya, there is a way out. This is the assertion that he makes here. After having sampled the various contradictions that define our human existence, our life, and accepting as very real this urge for certitude, for truth, for knowledge, there is simultaneously, as he says, a way out. What exactly is the way out? And the way out, the resolution has to be sought subjectively in our consciousness. This is where the seeker after truth needs to seek. And very often we find that the societal norms in which we exist, the society in which we exist and its norms, very often, at least in our psyche, tend to be an opposing force. And that particular aspect, the contradiction between our subjective aspiration and societal norms, is now being portrayed here. On the other hand, practical men tell us, don't bother your heads about such nonsense as religion and metaphysics. Live here. This is a very bad world indeed, but make the best of it. And then he parses that statement. It sounds like an innocuous statement, live in this world, make the best of it, and it's generally passed off as practicality. But then Vivekananda takes his sword of discrimination to this bunch of sentences, and he says, which put in plain language means live a hypocritical, lying life, a life of continuous fraud, covering all sores in the best way you can. Go on putting patch after patch until everything is lost and you are a mass of patchwork. This is what is called practical life. See, the thing is that in another place, Vivekananda uses this word practical in the sense of being able to carry out an ideal in practice. Here, it is being used more in the sense of a compromise. We cannot live up to the ideal. And so, without recognizing that, we say that no, we'll live in this make-believe life and decide to call that the real. This is what is called a hypocritical lying life. It is not practical in any reasonably accurate sense of the word practice. So this is what is called practical life, is what he said. He's being very sarcastic here. Those that are satisfied with this patchwork will never come to religion. Religion begins with a tremendous dissatisfaction with the present state of things, with our lives, and a hatred, an intense hatred for this patching up of life, an unbounded disgust for fraud and lies. He alone can be religious who dares say, as the mighty Buddha once said under the bo tree, when this idea of practicality appeared before him, and he saw that it was nonsense, and yet could not find a way out. When the temptation came to him to give up his search after truth, to go back to the world and live the old life of fraud, calling things by wrong names, telling lies to oneself and to everybody, he, the giant, conquered it and said, "Death is better than a vegetating, ignorant life. It is better to die on the battlefield than to live a life of defeat." Here, Vivekananda has paraphrased Buddha's statement. There's a Sanskrit verse which summarizes this. And it says, basically, when he sat under the Bodhi tree for the last time before illumination, he said to himself, "Ihasane shushyatu me shariram, tvak asti mangsani pralayancha yatu, aprapya bodhim bahukalpa durlabham, naivasanat kayam idam chalishyati." This is a Sanskrit version. It means something slightly different. It's been freely paraphrased here. Ihasane shushyatu me shariram. See, this is the kind of resolve that the man has. Let this body dry up on this seat. Ihasana. Iha is this. Asana, seat. Ihasane, on this seat. Shushyatu, may it dry up. What? Me sharira, my body. Tvak asti. Tvak means skin. Asti means bones. Mangsani, flesh. Pralayancha yatu, may it be destroyed. So this is the resolve. That means basically he is saying, let the body do its worst. What am I supposed to be doing? Aprapya bodhim bahukalpa durlabham. Without having attained to this true knowledge, which cannot be obtained which cannot be obtained easily even when the time scale is a few ages. Aprapya bodhim bahukalpa durlabham. Na eva asanat. From this seat, kayam idam chalishyati. I will not let this body move from this seat till I have attained this true knowledge. And if it means the destruction of this body, then so be it. This is the strength of resolve of the man sitting under that tree. Ihasane shushyatu me shariram. It's very poetic. Ihasane shushyatu me shariram tvagasti asti mangsani pralayancha yatu aprapya bodhim bahukalpa durlabham naivasanat kayam idam chalishyati. Yeah, that's the original Sanskrit. Vivekananda has paraphrased it freely here. It's essentially what happens is that this so-called idea of practical life appears. See, when your resolve is for something that's deeper, that transcends our day-to-day sensory common sense existence. And the heart has resolved that it needs this higher ideal to become real in order for life to make any sense, any real sense. When this resolve comes, and what is the principle that drags us away from that ideal? It is this idea that I am the body, and therefore, whatever the demands of my physical reality are, those I must satisfy. See, many people would say basically, okay, can you subsist without having food? This is the question that comes. Why? Because food is necessary for our physical sustenance. Can we exist without that? Can we exist without sleep? See, these are the basic physical needs. But when somebody has reached this tremendous resolve that the truth is desirable more than life itself, more than our humdrum daily life, this truth is more fulfilling, is more necessary for my existence. It is when that conviction comes, that feeling comes, it's then that such a resolve that may the body perish if necessary, may it undergo all afflictions, but independent of the way the body takes me, I will not allow myself to budge. This is the kind of resolve. This is a function of the will, the dhriti. Yeah? In various other places, yeah, in the Bhagavad Gita also in some place it says, what kind of will is necessary? Dhritya yaya dharayate manah prana indriya kriyaha yogena avyabhicharinya dhriti sapartha satviki. What is the pure will? The pure will is that which holds on to mana, prana, indriya, kriya. The functioning of the mind, the vital forces, that means our physiological forces, and senses. It holds it in tremendous control. Mana, prana, dhritya yaya dharayate mana, prana, yogena avyabhicharinya. So, yoga here it means it's held to the subservience of the conscious power, this conscious aspiration for something truer, something deeper. Avyabhicharini, which means without any flickering or without catching hold of something else in its place. Avyabhicharini. Without seeking any other option. Consistently, we call it subduing, but that has a kind of a negative connotation. It's being held towards a particular goal and not allowed to flicker from that. Yeah. In another place, tapasya, we usually think of tapas or tapasya as going off to the mountains, somebody standing on some hill for years on end or whatever. Physical. But in Shankara's commentary, he says, Manasa eva indriyanam aikagryam paramam tapa. Manasa, of the mind, eva indriyanam, of the mind and the senses, aikagryam, one-pointedness. This is the supreme tapas or austerity or discipline. So here, what is being talked about is this strength of will that comes from being motivated being inspired, being driven by one supreme ideal more than anything else. The body, let it make its demands on me, I will not yield. This is the resolution, the resolve that the Buddha had. It's not that we will be having that kind of resolve by waking up one morning and by wishful thinking. It's a practice, abhyasa vairagya abhyam. Yeah, so basically through practice and through detachment to the other things. One is, one's will slowly gets strengthened towards this one supreme resolve. And it is that supreme resolve that the Buddha expresses, summarizes by that verse that we quoted some time back, ihasane shushyatu me shariram twagang asthimangsam pralayantiyatu aprapya bodhim bahukalpa durlamam ihasanat idam shariram na chalishyati. Something like that. Let me just get that. Yeah. Na eva asanat kayam idam chalishyati. Okay. And here, that's exactly, that sentiment is being expressed by Vivekananda here. He, the giant, meaning Buddha, conquered this tendency towards going back to the so-called practical life, conquered it and said, death is better than a vegetating, ignorant life. It is better to die on the battlefield than to live a life of defeat. And then this resolve, this central resolve, he says, this is the basis of religion. Usually we take as religion a bunch of rituals, a bunch of observances, where some kind of rituals are followed, very often mindlessly. But really what is important is this kind of unified will. In Vedanta we talk of buddhi. By buddhi, what is meant is not intellect or intelligence. It's a combination of three faculties of the human mind. The emotive faculty, the analytical faculty, and the faculty of will. When these three primary mental faculties, cognitive, emotive, and the faculty of will, when these get unified, the mind develops tremendous strength. That strength comes from being one-pointed. Yeah, I've said this in two different ways. Once by quoting Shankara, Manasa eva indriyanam aikagryam paramam tapa. And again from the Bhagavad Gita, Dhrityaya dharayate manapranendriya kriya. All of these things basically say it's a unification of the faculties of the mind towards a central goal. The more goal-directed an individual's life, the more satisfaction it brings, the more fulfillment it brings. Why? Because the fulfillment does not necessarily lie in the objectives, but rather in the quality of mind aspiring for an objective. It is that quality of mind, that pure mind. Pure means basically undivided, unfragmented. The fragmented mind throws itself into waves, occasionally reflecting this image, occasionally reflecting that image. But here, if it is unified and goal-directed towards a single central goal in life, then the faculties fulfill each other. They do not move in opposition to each other. This is the point of all these so-called spiritual practices. It need not be through any formal religious framework, but this quality of mind is what is being aimed at. And that unification can come only through some kind of an abstract idea. And in human existence, we usually talk of these three ideals. Depends on what culture one has come from. Truth, beauty, goodness is the Platonic triad. And in Sanskrit, we basically call the same thing, the Sat, Chit, and Ananda, these three aspects of reality. And when one of these abstract ideals is taken up and converted into something very real and valuable in one's own life, when it drags the rest of the faculties in and unifies the mind towards such a goal. When a man takes this stand, he is on the way to find the truth. He is on the way to God. See, here, Vivekananda has used the words truth and God interchangeably. See, very often, particularly in the more devotional schools, what is often emphasized is a kind of submitting of the will to some higher power. Often forgetting that it requires much, doing that in reality requires a huge amount of strength. And for those who are not particularly inclined towards any personal deity, the pursuit of truth in its purest form very often serves as a very effective replacement. If you are asked to define truth, philosophically that will be a very difficult job, really. It's a subject of tomes. What exactly is truth? What do we mean by it? What is it in us? What is it in the human psyche that makes us seek truth? At a certain point, one does understand that this notion of truth is a certain abstract ideal. On the other hand, without truth, no day-to-day existence is possible. So, for instance, right now we are sitting in this room talking. If we were not at some subconscious level aware of the truth of gravity, for instance, physical law, suppose something could come along and upset that law, and that law could change from moment to moment. What would happen is that all this stuff that we are seeing around us would start flying. So at a certain level, even this simple act of sitting here and discussing some lecture presupposes our understanding, however subconsciously, of a certain physical truth, of laws. Where do these laws lie? Do these laws lie in the physical world? No, they lie in the human mind that tries to grasp reality. Gravity does not exist outside. It's a way we have of understanding reality. As a species, as human beings, this law is a certain truth which guides an aspect of our lives in our day-to-day world. And without it, we cannot even lead our day-to-day lives. Yeah? So, this is the sense in which Vivekananda here makes these two notions interchangeable. The notion of truth, the notion of God. When a man takes the stand, he is on the way to find the truth. That determination, that strength of will must be the first impulse towards becoming religious. that determination must be the first impulse towards becoming religious. He's talking about the religious instinct, universal in human beings. It does not matter whether the person is a theist, an atheist, or an agnostic. That's not important here. It's isolating that aspect of the human psyche which aspires for this unfettered, unpolluted, unadulterated truth as a goal in itself. I will hew out a way for myself. This is the strength of character that is being talked about. I will hew out, hew means cut through. I will hew out a way for myself. See, this is what Vivekananda calls manliness. Taking the whole responsibility upon one's own shoulders. No transferring of responsibility somewhere else. I am responsible for what I am, and I will act so that I am responsible for my future. That strength of will. I will hew out a way for myself. Subservient to what? Subservient to the truth alone that I seek. I will know the truth or give up my life in the attempt. See, this is what, this is the real spirit of the Vedanta that Vivekananda talked about. It coincides with the spirit of the Buddha underneath the Bodhi tree when he sits to resolve. See, let's go back to the Buddha again for one more time. What was the problem that bothered him? He saw around that human beings suffer. Human suffering as a very tangible existential fact. And the question that arose, is there a way out of this suffering? Vedanta puts the same question in a slightly different way and essentially prescribes the same kind of teleological teleological motivation. Atyantika dukkha nivritti paramasukha prapti. The complete extinction of all pain and suffering. Yeah? Which is why, because there is a form of extinction involved, the Buddhists call it nirvana. Yeah? Nirvana means basically when a candle flickers and goes out, we say that it's just been blown off. Yeah, so that's that blowing out of the candle, yeah, that light being extinguished. But here, what is being extinguished is a certain conflict. This conflict that defines our day-to-day existence. And this conflict that defines our day-to-day existence, this particular lecture of Vivekananda has been called Maya. And it is this conflict that preys on our mind throughout our lives and contribute dissatisfaction. Yeah. So when the Buddha says sarvam dukkham, yeah, or that means all existence is dukkham, he does not mean suffering. After all, at this moment, would you say that any of us are in great pain? No. But is there complete satisfaction? There we would be bound to say no. So, this dissatisfaction with the present state of things is really what is the literal translation of dukkha. Let's take that Sanskrit word up one more time. This kha at the end. Sukha. We usually translate that as pleasure. Dukkha. Dukkha. We usually translate that as suffering. Su and du are good and bad. But kha really stands for knowledge. Yeah? So there are these various theories of knowledge, epistemology. Yeah? That's called Khyativada in Sanskrit. In the various schools of Sanskrit philosophy, those are called Khyativada. Kha, that word here, it has various meanings. In this particular case, it means knowledge. Good knowledge or right knowledge is sukha. Bad knowledge or wrong knowledge is dukkha. Or inadequate knowledge, dissatisfaction. This, all our phenomenal life is rife with this particular lack of clarity, confusion, existence of confusion, or inaccurate ayatha, yeah? Inadequate knowledge, inadequacies, dissatisfactions. These are what define dukkha. And so when the Vedantin says that this entire phenomenal existence is Maya, by which he or she means that it is the combination of these contradictory features. And when the Buddhist says that all life is dukkha, they mean literally the same thing. The way out then is the strength of resolve as a quality of mind that wants to cut its way through these conflicting existences to something which is without conflict, without duality. Without that central aspiration towards truth above everything else, neither of these paths can really be treaded. I will therefore, let me repeat this, I will hew out a way for myself. I will know the truth or give up my life in the attempt. Why? For on this side, it is nothing. It is gone. It is vanishing every day. Temporary. Anitya, as the Vedantin says. In the Kathopanishad, this is when Nachiketa is offered this various bunch of boons by Yama. He says, Shvo bhava matyasya yadanta kaitat sarvendriyanam jarayanti teja api sarvam jivitam alpameva tavaiva baha tavanritya gite. Shvo bhava, that first word, it's a very important word. Shva, that is the SH. There are 3 S's in Sanskrit. Yeah? The first one, the SH sound, talavya, yeah, from the talu. That sh with a va, shwa. That shwa means tomorrow. Para shwa means day after tomorrow, from which this Hindi or other words, parson, that's how it comes. Para shwa. Shwa, shwa bhava yasya iti shvo bhava. Shvobhava martyasya yadanta kaitat sarvendriyanam jarayanti teja api sarvam jivitam alpameva tavaiva baha tavanritya gite. What he means is that all these pleasures, these joys, these temporary things, they are here today and gone tomorrow. That's the meaning, that's the connotation of that word. Of the nature of tomorrow. That which will be here today and gone tomorrow. For on this side, it is nothing, it is gone, it is vanishing every day. The beautiful, hopeful young person of today is the veteran of tomorrow. Hopes and joys and pleasures will die like blossoms with tomorrow's frost. This is exactly that sentiment. This life is anitya. This phenomenal existence, there is nothing permanent about it. There is nothing, if the seeking, all the time we seek joys, hoping that it will be a lasting joy, but it is not. because our minds are not of the quality that can allow that joy to last. Yeah? It is within the control of time, and therefore it is subject to change. This is one side, the phenomenal aspect of our lives. On the other, but what is the way out? This is the side of dukkha according to Buddhism, or maya according to Vedanta. On the other, what's the other side? There are the great charms of conquest, victories over all the ills of life, victory over life itself, the conquest of the universe. On that side, men can stand. Those who dare, therefore, to struggle for victory, for truth, for religion, are in the right way. And that is what the Vedas preach. Be not in despair. The way is very difficult, like walking on the edge of a razor. Kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya. Durgam pathastat kavayo vadanti. Yeah, that's this part. And the first part, yet despair not. Arise, awake, and find the ideal, the goal. Uttishtata jagrata prapya varan nibodhata. Again from the Kathopanishad. I don't know whether too many of you know of this. There's a novel by an English writer called Somerset Maugham. Yeah? It's called The Razor's Edge. He's actually referring to this particular passage from the Kathopanishad. Kshurasya dhara nishita duratyaya durgam pathastat kavayo vadanti. Kavayo means the learned ones who have gone along that path talk of this path as sharp as, it's like treading a razor's edge. A little, again I think the Christians also say this, straight is the gate, narrow is the way and straight is the gate. Essentially means that it requires a huge amount of self-discipline in order to unify the powers of the mind towards this one central goal. However difficult the path may be, it has been treaded in the past, and it is possible for us to tread it. Yet despair not, arise, awake, and find the ideal, the goal. Uttishtata jagrata prapya varan nibodha. We'll return to this the next time. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.